What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. One Piece episode 1126. So in this one, you know, you kind of like two perspectives. One is Kuma. So Barthol and Kuma, you see him like trying to leave Kawabaka Island, and for, and then like basically like since he's like not charged up or because he's basically a robot, he collapses. Then we see like a flashback to him escaping Mary Joa where he fights Aikanu, or well, Sakazuki, but a lot of fans know him as Aikanu from when he was an admiral. Like heck, even a lot of the characters still call him Aikanu. Then we see a flashback to Bonnie escaping the world government, and Aikanu basically capturing her. And then once all the Kuma stuff's done, and Celestial Dragons are pissed. Like they're pissed at losing their food. No, they don't understand why. They like because like they're a lot of them are a bunch of retards. Like they don't understand that yeah, there's a revolution that happened. Like and anyway, so one what with the Kuma stuff, after that we see um Kizaru fight Luffy. And basically like that fight, it's a big fight, this is just beginning stages of it, but then like Kizaru's able to get past, and he blows up, he blows up Vegapunk's robot. Like it blows up the one, and basically like, and this is while it's carrying the Thousand Sunny, so kind of a little difficult for the ship to get out. Now, I'm not gonna spoil anything about the manga as far as that goes. I mean, as far as like that goes, but like like a lot of people know what is gonna happen with like the ship, but like, so then Kizaru then confronts Vegapunk, and like Kizaru does not want to fight Vegapunk. He doesn't want to kill Vegapunk. He doesn't want to do that. Like he was not happy about attacking Sentomaru. Basically, he's doing his job. He's only attacking Egghead because it's his job, not because he actually wants to do it. As like we'll see later on in the aftermath and then of the battle. And so Luffy uh, transforms into Gear 5. You see everyone's reaction with the eyeballs bulging out, and Kizaru's like, well, basically during fight, he's like, "Oh, I can see how you could beat Kaido." But then once he sees like Gear 5 and Luffy's like a giant, and he like grabs Kizaru, Kizaru's like, "Frick." So now like we have all the so basically like next stage of the Luffy versus Kizaru fight's about to happen. Luffy's basically about to do a freaking beatdown. Like it is gonna be a very interesting fight. Like I really like this episode. So yeah, so the whole one chapter per episode thing, it works for the battles. Especially, if there's some stuff that's like glossed over and not delving into, kind of like in Wano, there were some of the fights that like some of the characters who were not Straw Hats were fighting. A lot of those fights were they were kind of sidelined. We didn't see a lot of them, but in the anime, when those fights were shown, we saw those fights fully. And so once you get to like the battles, like the combat, like the meat of the story, the one chapter per episode does work. And flashbacks are fine, especially with a series as long as One Piece. You kind of do have to remind some people of some things because it's been on so long. Like, there's probably some stuff we have forgotten. Now, me, I binge watched all of One Piece like a few years ago, like to catch up. So I haven't forgotten as much as probably someone who has watched since the beginning. Like, so I can't say I just like some people have watched since the beginning. I've probably forgotten a lot more just because it's been like more than 20 years. So they probably would like some of them might like a reminder so that they can remember everything. But like, so I mean, there wasn't as much flashbacks in this, but since we're in the meat of it, the one chapter per episode is gonna work. Now, once we get to Vegapunk's, once we get to the certain plot point regarding Vegapunk, it will feel like it's dragging on for a while, but we're not at that point yet. That's still probably like a good bits away. But I really like this episode. I thought it was really good. And I'm looking forward to next week's. All right, next up, One Piece chapter 1146. So basically, in this chapter, Gunko is still like attacking basically trying to capture all the kid giants, and basically she is confronted by Nami, Jinbei, Rook, and the kid giant, whose name I can't remember the kid's name. Basically, she's like, basically, the kid says she's one of the human intruders who basically beat up the castle guards, and Gunko's like, "You dare call me a human? We are gods." And then they're like, and then Star's like, "Wait, you're like Inaru or the Celestial Dragons?" And basically, the kid's captured. Then once she reveals that they're trying to take the kids to marry Joa, basically that's when they all realize, oh, this is Celestial Dragons. And then Brooks realizes that she's a Holy Knight. So I guess the Holy Knights are like well known, at least amongst the Straw Hat, at least amongst some of the people, some of the pirates, which I was found surprised. Which okay, it's not that surprising if the Revolutionary Army know. There's a good chance a lot of other people knew. Like, which makes sense. I mean, a lot of the Celestials we see are very weak in strength, and is well known that they're hated by the people. So having a known like fighting force to basically scare people to behave does make sense that people know about them. People know about the Holy Knights or God Knights, depending on translation. Yeah, because a lot of times when we think Holy Knights, we're thinking like seven deadly sins. Yeah, and so basically, Ubko sends some arrow attack after Usopp. Usopp runs. Nami summons Zeus, and like Usopp shoots an attack at Gunko, which destroys half her body. So they think she's dead, but she regenerates. So it's possible she has the power. Some of her abilities are associated with Emu, since the arrow attack and well, so who knows what's going on. So do the God Knights know about Emu now? That could be interesting because of Garling being one of the five elders now. So the if the God Knights are aware of Emu, and Emu basically did something with his power, like shared some of his power with the God Knights, like he seems to have done with the five elders, that could affect some things, and now Emu is going to be he'll be able to. maybe have some more influence in the battle. And so it looks like it's gonna be pretty interesting. Like, we're starting the fight, and then basically Gunko says there's a big war that's coming. That's gonna drag that the entire world's gonna be involved. And basically she explains that the reason they're going after the giant children because they want to hold the kids hostage to force the giants to side with the celestial dragons because whichever side has the giants will have a significant advantage in the war to come. So, which is, I think a world war is not something like people are surprised about. It's kind of expected. And then basically they're all fighting all the straw hats are fighting Gunko. Like, they're just getting wrecked. And then Gillingham is fighting basically his early destroyed Saul and and Tusk, and like Saul's bleeding, and like he's like, "Oh, you're the guy who should have been killed at O'Hara." Then Saul is hiding Robin and Chopper, and basically Saul tells Robin Chopper to rescue the children. And, he basically falls down, and then Killingham is like, "What is this? Schools, libraries? What kind of people are you?" Like he's like mad that they're no longer warriors, and basically there's like a brief flashback to like I guess I don't know if it was Killingham saying this or someone else saying like telling King Harald who Loki killed to basically become have the giants all become mercenaries for the celestial dragons, which might partly explain why the Holy Knights were sent to recruit Loki. And then something happened and Harald screwed it up. Like I guess screwed it up for them. Now, I don't it could mean that he screwed it up by dying, because that is something I feel like a Celestial Dragon would say, hey, it's your fault for dying. You screwed up for us. Now, the Holy Knights seem now as far as Celestial Dragons goes, Holy Knights probably do have more common sense. Like them and the Five Elders probably do have a lot more common sense because they deal with a lot more of like the real world. They're not just sitting there in their palaces doing nothing like a lot of celestial dragons. Because like the five elders, you don't see them wearing like the freaking bubbles. You don't see the holy knights wearing those bubble helmets. So like now would they still be like, hey, it's your fault for dying? Yes. So looks like a big King Harald flashback is coming. So what was hinted at with Loki, what looks like it's being hinted at with by Killingham, looks like we're going to get a big flashback with Harald very soon. So I like this chapter. I liked what it's setting up. Like we're in the fight. We're in the meat of the battle between like the Straw Hats and Giants versus the Holy Knights. Now, will Shanks appear? I don't know. A lot depends on if Shamrock comes back. I think there's a good chance Shanks comes back too. Now, I mean Shanks I think is going to appear in this arc regardless. Though, like him and Luffy will have to like work things out with all the stuff that Bartolomeo did. Like they're going to work that out. If Bartolomeo had not attacked Shanks' territory, Luffy and Shanks can meet very peacefully and not have to worry about fighting. At least not, or at least have a competent. I mean, they could still make it out like a Davy Back game or something. and with actually with good writing on like the dating back game that has been used. Anyway, so I think this was a very good chapter. I think the fights are gonna be cool in future chapters, and I'm looking forward to see what happens when Luffy, Zoro, Hadrian, and Loki start playing a role in the fight. Like I think those are gonna be some very interesting fights. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next week. As long as there is a chapter releasing next week, which I believe there is. If not, then 2 weeks. But yeah, so yeah, next week. News Exorcist, chapter 95. So continuing from the previous chapter, Gakuro tries to like basically wash Suzuku's back as a like a way to I guess try to like get close to her. Yeah, the mixed baiting. That's still weird. It's play for I know it's play for laughs. It's still weird. I find it funny how they all try to play for laughs. And then like basically like issues like you know Bakuro's bad at this, but he's still trying. How manly of him. And then basically all the other I guess siblings are like, oh, you can't do that. You're new here. You gotta bond with us first. So then all these other women try to have him wash their backs. He's like, frick. Because we have a bunch of naked women with big tits trying to like have him wash their backs. And he's like, oh crap. And I guess Suzuku realized what they're after. And so basically Gaku's like, we have to figure out another way. So then Issue suggests they talk to Mikumo, who used this like mirror power to allow Issue to watch Gakuro. And it's real that Mikumo has giant dolls based off of Gakuro and that she sleeps with them. That's all it says. It's safe to say possibly Mikumo does other stuff to the dolls. Like these are like body pillow dolls. So basically, like Gakuro keeps trying to like try to convince Mikumo and try to do whatever to like convince her. And, Mikumo keeps rejecting because she doesn't want to replace Suzaku. But then after so many freaking times, basically, like she keeps rejecting, and then what happens is the Gakuro, Mikumo, and Ishu go to the group bath, and then basically Mikumo suggests a way to settle is through like a sauna battle where basically they keep heating up the sauna and whoever passes out first loses. And basically they keep heating up. Like Sakuro like is able to win, and Mikumo like convince. And basically Miku's glasses fall off, and I guess there's supposed to be some like face hiding spell on them. And then basically like it was supposed to blur faces or whatever. And then like I guess Gakuro's face is no longer blurred for Mikumo, and she just her face turns red. She like hugs him, and then she's like, "Do you want to go to racing?" He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "All right, I'll take you." So then Gakuro confronts Reisei. Then Gakuro summons New, and then that's really it. So the fight against Reisei is about to start, like next week, looks like. So yeah, I enjoyed this chapter. I thought it was very funny. Gakuro, who's not necessarily great with women. Well, okay, not great talking with them. He seemed to do well at getting them, given a lot of the recent chapters. But this was a funny chapter. That was really good, and I'm looking forward to next week's chapter. Elusive Samurai, chapter 200. So in this one, the battle against the Konos continues. So they're like basically everyone's fighting, and then basically near the end of the chapter, basically some of the soldiers, including the gal, dressed up as like these deities, ancient, luminaries or something. Basically, they're trying to impersonate God, and basically they scare the other army into like basically with like something that looks like it's one of their nightmares or something that causes them all to get scared, destroys their morale, and the basically Tokiyuki's side is able to they're able to win. So the Mornals, they all lose. Like it's weird. Like it's kind of a funny way to lose. Like basically like you have this vast army that gets their morale destroyed by a basically cosplay. Like it's kind of funny, honestly. Then they do all that. I thought it was funny. So now one of Takaji's subordinates is dealt with, like either capture. Well, basically, like the battle is not going well, and then basically like whether or not the battle is done. Like the battle's not done yet, so they're basically it's mop up. Looks like they're about to start next. So like a lot of the cleanup. So like finish off Morinal's forces. Like so yeah, a lot of the basically it was like the next week or 2 weeks the battle against the Morinals will probably be done. And yeah, I enjoyed this chapter. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was funny. The cosplay stuff was freaking hilarious. Like, yeah, I thought this was a pretty good chapter. Kagurabachi Chapter 76. So this one, Hirohiko and Chihiro start their fight, and Hirohiko's doing all these illusion stuff, and then basically Chihiro's main goal is to deal with Samura. Like, and basically Hirohiko's like, "Wait, your main goal is Samura?" And he's like, "I'm gonna kill Samura before you do, so you can focus all your attacks on me." And, the guy's basically freaking insane. And so, and then since Hirohiko can manipulate like basically different objects, he like basically controls all these corpses to like attack everyone. So basically, you have like a zombie apocalypse inside this building, basically. And Samura, like for years, like he had purged Iori, his daughter Iori, from his mind for the sole purpose so that he can focus on like killing the sword masters, killing a lot of the sword bearers. But with all the seal broken, his main mission was to protect his daughter. But like with Eeyore there, he's vulnerable, and then basically to protect Iori, he like takes all these like swords that were going towards her, and like he gets impaled by them. Like a lot of swords. Like he's probably not gonna live past this arc. He's probably gonna die pretty soon. And then basically like he like does his like raven power, his crow power. He's like, all right, enough out of you. So basically, Samura's about to fight Hirohiko, and he's probably about to Hirohiko's probably not going out of this unscathed. Like it's gonna be a beatdown probably. So I enjoyed this chapter. I thought it was really good. Samura is an interesting. Hirohiko is like freaking crazy. Like he's just insane and it's awesome. So yeah, I really like this chapter, and next week should be pretty good as well. Astro Royale, Chapter 50. So Hebrew uses all the power he acquired to defeat Indo, and then after that happens, Hebrew sees a vision from his adoptive sister Sora, who's revealed to be like a an alien who was adopted by like Hebrew's father, and basically to protect her from the government. And then Subasa, who stayed in the hospital and Sora was at a lot. Basically, Subasa was another adopted brother of Hebrew. Basically, they bond, and Sora tells Subasa about her being an alien, and basically Subasa jokes that if she doesn't want to go to space, they'll just have to get married. Yeah, they're siblings. It's not by blood, so it's not supposed to be considered as weird. It's still freaking weird. They're still siblings. Yes, they're adopted. They're not related by blood, but it's still freaking weird. And then basically, like Hebrew's dad in the flashback is shown did have to give sword to the government. Basically, he had no choice. And then Tsubasa tried to save her, but it's real that Plant Zero, Sora was kept there for doing a lot of experiment. A lot of experiments were done, like, and that created the Daybreak Ore, and it broke into like six pieces. And then the day like Hebrew's father died, Tsubasa used the Daybreak Ore to alter trajectory of these asteroids, and he caused a disaster that gave people these astro powers. And so basically Sora can grant a lot of wishes, and she asks Hebrew what will he do once he collects all the fragments of her body. And then basically everyone they're injured. Then Hebrew wakes up. He sees everyone's injured, but they're awake. They're alive. Then he's like Hebrew realize like says that he'll rebuild the world with all his siblings, and then he'll once he does that, he'll destroy all the fragments of the Daybreak Ore to basically like end it, like basically so no one can use it again. And basically, Hebrew's like, all right, everyone, we got work to do. And that's it. And this was the last chapter. Now, apparently, once the last volume of the manga releases, there's going to be an extra chapter that shows everything, that, like, guess shows an extra story. Why they don't just release that as another chapter, I don't know. No, I probably doesn't let like just release the actual chapter. Release a chapter, it would get read anyway. But it's just a minor beef I have with that stuff. I get the motive appeal to buy physical media. I get that. I understand wanting to sell physical media because digital has its problems. Anyway, so I enjoyed this chapter. It was a decent conclusion, to like this story. And then, as far as this overall series was pretty good. Hebrew trying to bond with his brothers, trying to fix things, be like an honorable Yakuza boss. And now, like, basically, this series ends with basically the Yatsurugis preparing to fix Japan. They basically fixed the world. And, I thought this was a good good series. Like this was a good closing chapter, well, somewhat closing chapter, and then I think the overall series was good. So yeah, I'll be interested to see it made into an anime. Like, I don't know if that will happen. I hope it does. It'd be interesting. It'd probably be like a 1 or 2 season thing. But I think like this would be a cool anime to watch. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi Chapter 41. So this one, Sosuke is fighting Sada, and basically like he's struggling. He's using like his Sosuke's using his water powers to like attack him, but Sada can freeze the water. Like, and so then there's like a flashback to Sosuke's mother, who was a cross paladin, and then basically Sasuke's like, "Hey, I'll be a cross paladin when I grow up too." But then it shows that his mother had died saving the kid, and then basically he remembers how his mother told him to smile whenever like bad stuff, and so he starts smiling, and then like he basically like uses boiling water to like stop this freezing attack that was being done on his body, and basically it leads into the next stage of the fight, which, pretty interesting. I don't know how long this fight will last. Probably 1 or 2 more chapters, based on if this was ever made to an anime, which I would like this manga to be. A lot of fights end up being like 3 chapters because they want it to last one episode. A lot of times you have 3 chapters per episode. So this probably may last 2 more chapters. I think this could be a really good fight, leading up to like the final fight. And then like this, yeah, that was a very good chapter. I'm looking forward to next week's. Yeah, I think this is Sosuke's time to shine. Ichi the Witch, chapter 31. So in this one, you know, Goku Raku, is confronted Bakugami. Like he basically wants to kill him and beat him up for like taking feelings from everyone because of how it's affected people. He's like, I don't, and so Bakugami's like, hey, if you want to try to acquire me, take my trial. Then Jess Karas is like, though I'll take the trial. Like she and Gokuraku argue over who's going to take the trial, and then Bakugami suggests a game of chance and like a game of roulette. And Gokuraku's like, screw you, I'm doing it, you prick. And then basically he's like, I've waited for a long time. I'm freaking killing you now. And then so the trial is to acquire Bakugami is accept 10 years worth of like pain, sadness, and all that, and survive. Gokuraku's like, I've been waiting for 10 years. I've been waiting 10 years to beat you up. I'll do it. And so like basically like Gokuraku wants to do trial to just end him, and basically Bakugami taunts Gokuraku, saying that like he'll force Gokuraku to watch his sister like scream in agony and lose her mind. Ichi then punches Bakugami from above, and he's like, ask Gokuraku if this is Bakugami. And so like looks like there's gonna be a fight starting next week. Now, who's gonna do the trial? I don't know. It could be Gokuraku. It could be Ichi. I think both. There's ways to do either one. Like for because obviously a witch can have multiple. So with Ichi being the only male witch, if that's a plot point that they're gonna keep as him being the only one, then it makes sense for Ichi to get Bakugami and Gokuraku just being an ally that travels with them or helps them out or something. And that might be what happens, where Gokuraku's like, hey, Ichi, you deal with this. Maybe that's what happens. I don't know. I mean, there's probably a way they can make Gokuraku gain it work, but I think it makes more sense for Ichi to do it. So I like this chapter. You know, Kagurabachi was awesome. And yeah, I think next week it could be a very interesting chapter. Regards to who takes the trial. Embers Chapter 12. So the team, like with Haitani's defense, is able to win their first game, 5-1. So Kosei affiliated moves on to the next round, and then Haitani comes across his old sensei, uh, Oshimi, and basically Oshimi says hi, and then Um, Yukizuki is pissed off because she doesn't like him being around because like it's revealed that Oshimi was is her grandfather and that he was like a legendary like soccer player at Kosei, basically almost single-handedly took them to nationals even though the rest of the team basically sucked. Played for the All Japan team and basically it's not known how he went from being a major soccer player to teaching middle school. Like basically, and how some people think Yukizuki got the job as the the soccer club advisor. Well, how she got to the coach's job, it's believed that she got by a lot of people because she's the a legend's grandkid, and she like wants to prove herself. And like Oshimi says, he's there to watch like his granddaughter and former student play a game. And then and he said once offers official greetings because it's revealed he's the coach of Kurobayashi, which is Kosei's big rival. And basically, setting up a matchup against between Oshimi and that team. And so Haichani's excited because he gets to have a rematch with Oshimi and basically have a chance for Kosei to beat the top dog. And he's like, "Yeah, I accept this challenge." Then he comes across one of the players starts taunting him, like he's like, "You're nothing." And so, Haichani's a little pissed off. And so, basically, it's setting up a future match, and looks like it's gonna be an interesting match. I don't know how if it's gonna get heated. Like this could be like it could be a good soccer match. So yeah, I like this chapter. I thought it was good. Way to conclude the previous the first game. Now we're gonna see the second game. It's definitely a little quicker pace for a sports manga compared to like something like Haikyuu or Blue Lock with all the chapters that go into one game in those series. So yeah, I like this chapter. That goes pretty good. It's setting up an interesting soccer match for next week or a few weeks, however many chapters there are before that semifinal match happens. So yeah, I look forward to the next chapter. Star Beethoven, Chapter 11. So in this one, Beethoven and Yaso go on their walk, and then they start talking. Like they go to an amusement park. It's revealed to be the first time Yaso had been to an amusement park, and Beethoven, due to the fact he lived very far to the past, had never seen an amusement park before. And so basically, while they're talking, Yaso mentions how his father was strict and a lot of stuff regarding his mentor training him. Then Beethoven remembers him taking care of his nephew Carl, who he took as his basically as his son, and basically Carl tried to kill himself. Basically he was struggling in school. Basically he had trouble bonding with his son, with his basically adoptive son. And then basically Beethoven tells Yaso that he should to help get better at piano, he should forget a lot, not hold himself to trying to be like his master. And basically, he also doesn't want to do it because he feels like it would disrespect his master. And Beethoven says, "Yeah, you won't achieve greatness if you do that." Yasuo's like, "Okay, look, you have nowhere to go, so I'm not gonna kick you out, but I'm gonna go somewhere else to sleep tonight." Basically, he's like, "If you want to find a new apprentice, find someone else." And basically, they part ways, and then the two people that are hunting Beethoven, they exit the train, so they're in Japan now. It looks like. And looks like both Beto and Yaso are pondering over their conversation, how they'll handle it. Who knows? It should be interesting. I thought it was an interesting chapter. I think it definitely sets up like the future of like the series. Like, okay, how is Yaso going to evolve as a piano player? How is Beethoven going to deal with his past? What are the whoever those two people are? What is their interest in Beethoven? So yeah, I think this was a good chapter. I look forward to next week's MobLand episode 4. So in this one, Harry's trying to continue, his fixing job, and basically like there's a client of Bella's who Harry threatens to basically get some memory sticks to get some footage of Bella's dad to incriminate him. Harry's able to get that, and so also the Harrigans are dealing with the cliffhanger last week, all that with Archie being killed and his body exhumed. And Conrad learns that Archie's body has been found by the police, and Conrad's concerned because the only people he believes who knew about where Archie's body was hidden was himself and Harry, and he very adamantly believes Harry is not a traitor. So Harry tries to keep check on his family, and basically like his wife Jan is pissed off, like, and she like goes to therapy to and I talk about she says that she believes Harry has two family he's committed to. He doesn't mention the Harrigans by name. But she says, yeah, they're a big family. If I mention them, you'll know who they are. So he says that she believes he cares more about the Harrigans than, well, his own family. And so Harry is, you know, doing stuff with Kevin Harrigan instead of going to therapy. And so they're trying to figure out all the stuff with Richie, who, basically who was torturing this guy who was taking the fall for Tommy's murder. And so Harry gets a call from Zosia, who is visited by some dude named Donnie, who claims to know Harry. Harry claims to, well, Zosia denies that she knows Harry, and Donnie gives her his number, and Harry claims to not know Donnie. Whether he's telling the truth or not, who knows? And then while Harry and Kevin are waiting, they talk about this guy named Rusby, who was a prison guard, who they saw when they were in prison together. Kevin remembers Rusby beating him, but he denies remembering him. And so then you have they talk about Kevin's wife Bella and like why she doesn't like going to the Harrigan estate. Yeah, it's revealed that before Bella was with Kevin, she was one of Conrad's mistresses. See, yeah, Kevin married his father's former mistress. Y- yeah, I mean that's freaking weird. I mean, that is definitely some celebrity type crap there. And then, basically Harry and Kevin just laugh about it because they're like, it's not the worst thing Conrad's done. And basically, and Conrad confronts Jan and basically tries to, I guess, figure out some things. It seems like he might somewhat suspect Harry, or at least he wants to cover his bases. And then, Conrad says he's aware that Jan and Harry have some problems. And then Conrad says that he cares about Harry and Harry needs Jan. Like that Harry needs his own family. And basically, he's like they both care about Harry, and then he tells her to not talk about, you know, her husband's work outside with anyone outside the family. And he tells her to not tell Harry about like the meeting they just have. And then basically Maeve is, serving breakfast to her grandson Eddie. And then basically Eddie asks if was it a mistake, what like what they did. Like basically he asked if he had made a mistake, and then Maeve's like everyone is exactly where we want them. So it seems to imply that Maeve had Eddie kill Tommy in order to like send a message to like the Stevensons. And Conrad, who Maeve considers to have gotten soft in his old age, and like basically like he arrives, and then Maeve tells Eddie that they're gonna send another message to Richie. And basically Harry talks to Jan, asks her if she tells the therapist anything about the Harrigans, and he tells her that that she can't go to appointments or else Conrad will find out. And then she tells Harry that Conrad did visit and knew about it. Harry does not take it very well, and she's like, Conrad's really dangerous. They're free, like if they say she screws up, they're all screwed. Like, and basically, like Alice, who is Jan's friend, meets this detective named Fisk. Basically, like Fisk wants Alice to get closer to Conrad. She's not comfortable with that. And basically, like, so Harry takes the memory sticks to Bella and basically, like, tells her that the deal is done. And but Bella wants to move forward with it despite the blackmailing thing. And basically, like, Kevin, like, comes across Harry, like, while he's on the way to see Bella. He's a little suspicious of, but Harry says he's just trying to help out and wanting her to stay at the Harrigans with everyone else. Basically. And then, Kevin asks Bella why Harry was there. Bella gives a different reason. So he's suspicious because they both gave different reasons for why he was there. But he wants Bella to live with him at the parents' house. And then like she says she can't, and then Kevin drives back to the Harrigan estate, and then he remembers Rusby, and it's revealed that Rusby violated Kevin while he was in prison. So it makes sense why he does not want to remember that prison guard. Yeah, that because he doesn't remember something like that happening. And Harry then is summoned by Richie, and then Harry learns that the club manager who he had take the fall for Tommy's murder is alive, and basically Richie wants Harry to finish the guy off. Then he'll use his gut instinct to figure out who's guilty. And then Richie gives Harry the gun, but Harry gives it back, and then he breaks a hammer and then uses its jagged handle to stab the guy and kill him. And then like Harry tells Kevin that Richie wants the Harrigans to go to Tommy's funeral. I guess as a way to help make peace. So yeah, I thought it was an interesting episode. I think Maeve is saying that to become an interesting villain, whether or not her and Conrad come to blows. I think Maeve's going to kill Conrad. I think either like someone's killing Conrad's not making it past this season. I think either or Maeve or Richie will kill Conrad, or Harry might if he gets pissed off enough about Conrad confronting his wife. So yeah, Conrad's not making past this season alive, I don't think. So I thought this was a good episode. Definitely kind of like a lot of mobster shows. A lot of stuff's heating up. You know, a lot of things. I think this was a pretty good episode, and I really am looking forward to next week's. So go Loser Rangers season 2, episode 2. So in this one, uh, Fighter D and Tsukubo, starting out their time with the Green Squadron. They're basically on cleanup duty. And so it's revealed that, you know, there's basically only 4 members. You have Green Ranger, Hisui, and, basically D and or Sakurama and Tsukubo. Like that's it basically. Well, it that's what Hisui says. There's more. Like basically Tsukubo and D find some booklet that lists other ones, but it says lost on them, so they're probably all missing, probably connected to like the missing people. And so they meet with Chiquito, the guy who Sakurama and Pink Ranger came across last week, and then so basically they start investigating all the disappearances. They come across this like school, like it. Well, they come up with all these delinquents, whatever. Then it turns into a school. They basically call it this time loop, where if they break school rules, they basically restart the day. And D, who has never been to school before, like basically like doesn't understand, and Tsukubo, who was a class president, knows why our school works, and so basically this group called Oribos, which is the name of the group of all those people, like they all like basically they're all there, and then like they're like stuck in like this like abandoned high school, and they relive like a high school day. Like it's weird. It's like basically, and so it's revealed that the boss monster who was responsible for all this is like Magadia, who aka the Snake. And so Hishui says that during the big fight between the Dragon Keepers and the boss monsters, like years before, basically 7 of the boss monsters were defeated and 5 are left. And then, and Magadia is one of them who, like, happens to escape a lot. And basically, so he had been seems to be taking a lot of those people, kidnapping a bunch of people, and then basically everyone's trapped. So and Tsukubo is like looks like to be caught into the illusion, so she's like brainwashed now. And so we're saying to like this basically like it's there's some like basically it's gonna set looks like I guess where gradually some of the characters gonna be brainwash, fall into the illusion, fire D. You know, I have not read this far into the manga, so I don't know exactly what all happens, but basically looks like a lot of psychological crap's about to go down. So it's gonna be interesting. Will Magadia learn? Will Matagia learn about Fire D being well a fighter, and how will that go? I think could be pretty interesting. I like this. This is an interesting arc, and looking forward to next week's episode. See how the mystery continues. Nice Prison, Chapter 1. So this is a new series that Shueisha is doing. And so this starts out with this prison guard named Hera Adachi starting her first day as a prison guard. She wanted to become one because of her father, who was, I guess, a really good prison guard, but was killed trying to catch an escaped prisoner. And that even while dead, he wouldn't let go of the prisoner. And then basically she ends up in this like prison city where like the worst of the worst go to, and then like all the prisoners are out of control. You have different people. You have some prisoners ironically playing the game of cops and robbers. You have some guy pissing on the wall. You have like some this clown dude trying to lead like a talk about romance, and then one guy is using a prison guard as a paintbrush. And then someone's trying to clean this dude's ears. Someone's trying to put him in this like weird dog position or whatever. And some prisoners recreating like the Spider-Man 3, uh, like a Gwen Stacy, Peter Parker kiss. And then you have some aerial yoga. So basically, they're all just messing around. And some, since they're in prison, they do what some prisoners do since there's no women around. Then Tara hears like this really loud shot, like sound, and then she turns around and sees like this prisoner wearing glasses, who was almost like wearing like a suit or something, like tie and all that. Then he was changed to this really big ball and chain. Then to reveal that he was shooting lemon juice, and basically he's just very strong. And basically that prisoner's name is really Horo Mitsuboshi, who is known as the super mall prisoner, where like he basically runs things. He's basically a guard. And it's real that he intentionally got himself in prison there because he heard things had gotten really bad, and that he was born in that prison. And then basically the ball and chain is like it shrinks, which explains how he was able to get through the door with that thing. The guard explains who he is, and then like how basically he is just like a instead of doing the central thing of you know applying to be a prison guard, he decided to get himself intentionally imprisoned. And so it's revealed that the a warden of the prison block everyone's in, who used to run a penny candy store in the block, disappeared. Basically, somewhere to like how I guess the warden, who was an old lady, like accidentally sold a real gun to Horo as a kid, thinking it was a toy gun. Basically, it was like they're all nonchalantly talking about serious stuff happening. And basically Mitsubishi like convinces everyone to go back to labor, except for this. There's this clown romance. There's this like clown dude who like keeps trying to force people to talk about romance. And basically Mitsubishi after the clown dude like basically like keeps trying to like do stuff. Basically he just traps him in. Mitsubishi just traps him in has him sucked into his ball. Like it's almost like it's like a pokeball or something. Hey, gotta catch them all. And then basically it's revealed that something like basically like something happened, and And so like the penny candy shop's found when like the wall collapses, and then the warden's found, so she's no longer missing. And then it's revealed that she was trapped by the clown dude because she didn't want to talk about romance. And then let's see, then there's something called a super death row prisoner who's like calling the shots. He's making all the prisoners run wild, and this guy, I guess, is the reason why the prison's a lot more rowdy than it's supposed to be. And so basically all the wardens have apparently been abducted. And so like basically like Mitsuboshi is going to hunt the this prisoner to like I guess deal with this guy. And basically he reminds Tara of her father, and then it's revealed that I guess when I guess when you go to lower blocks, the worse the prisoners are. And Mitsuboshi's like, yeah, we'll just beat this guy up, beat them up harder. And then it's like Tara's like, what the heck's going on? So it's like setting up like some big adventure type thing into the rest of the prison because it's basically Arkham City, like how Arkham City was like a prison like city like thing. Basically, this prison's like that. It's for the worst of the worst, and it's basically a city in a way. Now it looks more like a prison than probably Arkham City does. So like basically all the prisoners look really weird. So like that the character designs are pretty interesting. So like yeah, the how the different prisoners look. It looks like it could be a pretty interesting like based on the some of the artwork. Looks like you have like some ninja dude. You have like a guy who looks like a sumo wrestler with a giant forehead. I don't know, maybe I guess it's supposed to be like Ryan Kennel if he was a professional fighter with that giant forehead. You have like a cowboy type dude with an eye patch. Of course, you have the clown guy, and he has some like bunch of weird like it's like it could be an interesting series, just like a weird prison thing. Like looks like it could be this could be a funny funny manga. I don't know if it'll be a really long one. It could be pretty short, but this looks like it could be an interesting little series. Like you have Tara trying to get used to working at the prison, how like Mitsubushi or Mitsuboshi, whatever his name, like how it's pronounced, um, how he like works as a super ball prisoner and why he couldn't just become a prison guard. Now, is it possible since he was born in the prison and he was just used to dealing with prisoners that he thought being a prisoner made more sense? That could be possible. Or is there some reason he couldn't become a guard? Both of his parents being prisoners? Because there's like a brief flashback that reveals that both of his parents were prisoners. Basically, he grew up there, raised by prisoners. Like, is something like that a reason why he can't become a prison guard? Like, is that what happened? Which, if that could explain why he decided to just be a prisoner and intentionally get arrested for basically a petty crime, not even something worth going to that prison for. Anyway, but I thought it was an interesting pilot chapter. Looking forward to next week's chapter. The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 2. So in this one, Jesse approaches Ellie and after brief little banter about Ellie and Dina making out, basically Jesse takes Ellie to the diner where Maria wants to meet with her. And basically so the old guy who was mocking Ellie and Dina, apologizes and makes her a sandwich. And now I learned that so that old guy was in the last game, wasn't the actual video game. Last was part two. Yeah, I knew about. I never played the game itself. I only knew a little bit of the spoilers, like the big ones, and that wasn't. So I was not aware of the stuff with the old guy. Like I didn't even know about the bigot sandwich meme until after last week's episode aired. So yeah, so the bigot sandwich scene was in there, but I did not. Is it possible I didn't hear it? Maybe. I don't know. But I didn't hear the phrase bigot sandwich get made. And so Ellie talks with Tommy, and then Tommy mentions, some guy named Eugene, former Firefly, who uh, grew some weed, but but was put down by Joel when he turned infected. And then basically, like, I guess it's Gail's husband, and Gail, she, basically, so, there's a lot of weird, yeah, so Gail's the therapist that basically is a waste of time in the show. Like, there's no need for the therapist. Anyway, so for this season, so for this episode, basically, after all the stuff with the talk about Eugene, after the diner scene, basically it's just patrol. So Joel goes patrols with Dina, which is different from the game. So in the game, Joel patrols with Tommy, and Ellie's with Dina, whoever. So Abby's group, comes across Joel, and basically, they Abby basically holds Dina captive, her people, and then she asks Joel when's the last time he saw the Fireflies, and confirms that Joel is the Joel that killed her father. So she grabs a golf club and beats him with it. Ellie arrives, gets held down, and watches as Abby takes a broken end of a golf club and sees Abby stab Joel with it, killing him. And that's it. So the golf club scene happened a lot earlier than I guess a lot of people were thinking. Some people were wondering if we're gonna see Abby's backstory before Joel's death happened. And now it's possible, I guess, with that they're gonna keep a lot of flashbacks in there. So I guess season two is gonna be kind of like what, as far as story structure goes, maybe do what Arrow did in its first 5 seasons, and what Lost does for large portion of its seasons, where you have a present day storyline and a past storyline with flashbacks, like basically alternating, which makes sense for a TV show. Like very few shows can get away with long term flashback stuff with those few shows basically being anime. Now, as far as the quality of this episode, it wasn't good. Like, the acting's just not been good. Like I Pedro Pascal seemed to it didn't seem like he cared when he was acting. Like he just plays Pedro Pascal. Like it sounded very monotone, which yes, Joel is not the most emotional person in the world in the games, but you do hear some emotion in the tone in the games, whereas Pedro Pascal, you don't hear any emotion within the tone. Like the tone of the voice matters, not just the dialogue. And same thing with Ellie, but Ellie just sounds like a annoying prick the entire time. But it's like Ellie, show some respect for authority. And if you're going to be part of basically a military group, you got to respect chain of command. Like it's just that you got to respect chain of command, and she does not. And and while all the stuff with Abby's going on, there's an attack on the village where some of the smart infected start attacking, and basically the villagers had to like defend it. Like Tommy has to lead the defense there, and basically next episode looks like everyone's dealing with the aftermath of Joel's death, of the attack, and we're gonna see based on the previews, obviously the revenge trip is gonna start, where Ellie's gonna go out and seek revenge. Yeah, and I didn't like this episode. Like it's like like if you're trying to, so if you're trying to change the order to where Abby's stuff is like basically, and I do know in the game there's you play like almost half the game as Abby. There's like this whole long section, like instead of like a condensed level or something where you have a few time jumps here and there, they have this long section where you play as Abby to make it to where you're supposed to care about Abby and see that her decision was quote justified to kill Joel. Well, they did that and just made us hate Abby. It's like you made us waste half the game playing as Abby, and in this in this show, it looked like they were going to try to spread out some flashbacks because you have like I do know there are various flashbacks involving Joel and Ellie from across that 5-year time jump, which probably what they should have done is do like that stuff in chronological order, where you have the Abby flashbacks and the big Abby flashback mixed in with the Joel and Ellie flashbacks leading up to like the death of Joel or the beginning of like leading up to the death of Joel. That's probably what they should have done because they would get they would have like the main two from the first season in for like the whole season. Now, I'm not saying it would have helped the show. I mean, the ratings are going to be worse than season one because season one adapted the first game, season two adapts the last was part two, which was so controversial and almost started the Gamergate part two. Like by itself, it almost started one. Now, yes, we are in the second one with the Sweet Baby Inc. stuff, but in 2020, we almost had a second one happen with the last was part two, and yeah, this game, this is not a good show. Like it's boring. Like the thing is, one of the problems that yes, it's more action than season one, which doesn't say a lot. There still needs to be more gameplay segments that are filmed. Because if you're adapting a video game, you need to have scenes that are basically the gameplay. And this season, obviously, this seems to do better with that than the first season. But as far as story goes, no, it's just boring. It's like, gosh, like I don't care about I don't care about Ellie, don't care about Dina, don't care about Joel, don't care about Abby, don't care about Tommy. I don't care about any of these characters. Like, basically, this show has characters that I don't care about, that no one cares about. Like, and yes, you can have shows where basically everybody's a prick, and you can still care about the characters and the story, like MobLand, Sopranos, The Penguin, where everyone is a prick. Well, and Go Go Loser Ranger, like basically about everyone is freaking evil, or most characters are evil. but you still care about the characters, care about the story because it's good writing. This show does not have good writing. Like it's like whatever happened to Neil Druckmann after Amy Hennig and Bruce Staley, like after those two guys left, those two left, like Bruce Straley, Amy Hennig. Once they both left Naughty Dog, like what the heck happened with Druckmann? Like, it's like story doesn't matter. I mean, if you look at Naughty Dog, like I would say the last truly good Naughty Dog game was Uncharted 4: Thieves End. And then you look at the stories with Naughty Dog, which makes this show, and it's like, what the frick? And there's not going to be another. Like, if there's a season 3, which I wonder if that's why they put the Joel's death so early, is because if there's a chance of there not being a season 3, because that would be a. But this is only 7 episodes, so maybe they're gonna use that as a way to do that. But who knows? Like who knows? I you know I didn't like this episode. I think it sucked. Joel's death was freaking terrible, and it screwed up the character. They ended the character, and the execution of it was so awful. So yeah, it sucked. And that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.